Broncos country, another rout as the Broncos look like they're going to handle Arizona here 27-7. We're just wrapping up and thought we'd go live right now, joined by my friend Mark. We're going to break down all the takeaways, the guys who broke out. Troy Franklin's a problem. Pat Bryant looks, I think, even better than I was expecting at this point. We'll get into like Nick Garguilo, some of the winners and losers of this game. Want to, before we get started, Mark, just give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll go through, we're highlighting some of these comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, join the conversation. You guys are what makes this fun. Mark, thank you for your patience. How are you doing tonight, man? Give me your first like big impressions of tonight's game.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, bro. This is fun. I'm doing well, man. Hope you're doing the same. Impressions of the game. It was a fun game, man. It was cool to see the energy. I felt like that was a lot more positive overall from a team standpoint than I had seen from the last game. Seemed like everyone was just really enjoying themselves. Obviously, when you're and shout out to Mike Carmelini for the stat, but when your offense averages 10 yards a play in the first half, even if it's backups and whatever, it's still it's fun to see, man. It was awesome. So I thought overall the vibes were great. It shows again, this team is deep.
Yes.
This team is ridiculously deep, and our depth against other teams' depths is a problem. So hopefully it'll translate similarly to when the starters play in the regular season. But
No
how about
doubt
you? What were your thoughts, man?
Well, obviously pleased that we get another win. Again, Kodiak Broncos predicted that we would destroy every single matchup we've had in preseason, and right now he's 2 for 2. But yeah, let's get into the offense that we saw in the first half. And I think first we got to talk about Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant. And I'll read out their statistics here. And we'll start with Jarrett Stidham, elite backup quarterback, 16 of 23, 240, 2 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 132.5. You had Pat Bryant lead the team in receiving, 4 for 70 on 5 targets. But you also had Troy Franklin, 4 for 67 and 2 touchdowns. And we also saw Evan Engram get a casual 58-yarder, man. What was your impressions on the vertical threats in their performances in tonight's game?
I mean, you got to love it, right? It's cool. Like Evan Engram gets his first Broncos touch, takes it 58 yards, looking like a receiver out there. That was great. Man, I'll tell you, I've always loved Pat Bryant, but I've got to give Troy Franklin his flowers, dude. He just looks so much more confident. He's happy out there. He looked like he doesn't just physically look different, like everything about him. Completely different player than what we had seen last year, even towards the end of the season. Super happy for him, man. He seems like he's really enjoying this. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it translates into the regular season. But big fan of him. And I love the little things that he's doing, the efforts on the blocking, the very smart play. Like if you notice on that Evan Engram catch, he did a really good job of like shielding off on the block, but not getting the block in the back call. Like it's those small little details that I think mean a lot and that go a long way. And it shows that, man, he's taken to the coaching. He's really out there playing like a veteran. He's playing free and he's looking good in that number 11, man. So love to see that. And then, Pat Bryant, I can't really say I'm surprised. Like the guy is just so solid. You don't know how, when I was watching him a lot in college, you don't know how he was open and you don't know how he was making plays, but he just kind of was, and it's translating. So good to see him out there too, man. And this receiver core is deep. This team is deep. And so I'm pumped. What's up, Jeremy? How you doing, man?
What up? How's it going?
Doing
Good,
great, man. Give us your thoughts, man, on Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, what you saw there in that first quarter. What was going through your mind, man?
First of all, Troy Franklin, I know how much work he put in the offseason this year, and I know how much like he matured from as a young rookie to this year. But let's be honest, it's the change to back to number 11 that's really why.
He said it. He said it.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
It's a joke, but it's also not a joke. Like he just looks like Troy Franklin at Oregon, He looks just like he's ready. And last year just something was off, But dude, you got to be impressed. Like he's tracking the ball. Like from last season, all those drops in those clutch situations, now it's like, throw it up to Troy at 50-50 ball, and he's going to bring it down. He just looked like a totally different guy. And Pat Bryant, man, it's the thing that always sticks out to me about every time I see him play, he just has this awareness of where the defender is, where he's at on the field, body control. Nothing about it looks like, oh my gosh, he's so big, he's so strong. He just looks like he knows what he's doing, and to see that from a rookie is just really impressive.
I think these guys, man, they're going to be involved in the offense quite a bit once we hit the regular season, and I think there are going to be some GMs with some egg on their face because they let that 40 time with Pat Bryant get to him, man, just like they did Puka Nacua. Pat Bryant, he's separating Ryan Harris, man. He was calling out his route running. Doing those little things already in the blocking game. I thought that he was fantastic. I think you already pointed this out, Mark, but man, I love both of the blocks that Troy and Pat provided on that Evan Engram catch and run. I mean, that was just beautiful. And I couldn't be happier. Getting rid of Johnny Morton, keeping Kerry Colbert. We got the vibes right. The young receivers are developing now. Before we get into some of the other winners and losers, I got to ask you guys on this. We didn't see any Devaughn Vele today. A.T. Perry was freaking inactive, which made me want to just, self-combust, go crazy. Really,
I think they're waiting for him to go off against the Saints.
Yeah. We got to see it eventually. I even posted a highlight reel of him prior to the game. But with Vele not playing, was that a good sign for him or a bad sign? I'm still trying to figure this out.
It's a good question. I personally, I think it was an injury thing. I think it was limiting the reps. When you listen to what Sean said a lot, he said there's a lot of guys we're gonna play based off of how much they played previously. We're limiting some guys' reps, similar to how they did with Greenlaw not playing because of the injury. I just feel like it's a big maintenance thing for him. He got really good work and he looked good in the last joint practice, but I think they're just giving him time to rest regardless. So that's what I think it was. I don't want to necessarily look into it in any way other than that. I honestly didn't really make sense for him to play. But curious what you think, Jeremy.
David even said, he's like, well, in the Discord, he said a couple days ago, if they feature him, maybe they could be looking to move him. But now, personally, he feels like the guy that Sean's most proud of drafting last year. I mean, hey, nobody was looking at this dude, and I got him, and he's, who he's compared him to and all this stuff. I agree with you. I think he showed enough in that practice that they were like, all right, he's fine. It seems like obviously there is some sort of knee issue, but it's obviously not a major thing because they're not sitting him and there's been no announcement of anything. But I'm not too worried about it. They sat Mims. I think Vele specifically looked like the number 2 guy in OTAs, and then he slowly got better since whatever has happened. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I think I'm excited that we have 6 and then possibly more solid to really good wide receivers, where last year we had Cortland and occasional help. And it's amazing. Yeah, right. And it's amazing how far that has flipped over in just 1 year with the same guys mainly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if we end up keeping 6. I know that there's been some talk of Joaquin Davis on the roster. I think that would be cool, but I just don't know if he's flashed enough. I think we could get away with keeping him on the practice squad right now, but again, I'm just a fan. I don't have any intel, but let's if it's okay, guys, let's get to the running backs, and then we can transition, I think, to some of the defense or talk offensive line. But oh yes. Pause very, very quickly. We have a very special guest we're going to bring on here. Yes. And it is none other than Mile High.
Hold on, I can't hear anything.
What's up, man?
Okay, try now.
Accidents. Can you hear us?
Testing.
We hear you.
Yes, but I'm in my car and I'm trying to figure out the Bluetooth crap. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put you backstage, but then just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay. Let's talk about the running backs, though. Jaleel McLaughlin going off, leading the team in rushing. 3 carries, 48 yards. Blake Watson, 10 for 34. Audric Estime, 9 for 20. And Tyler Bidet, 4 for 14. We'll start with you, Jeremy. Then we'll go over to Mark and then hit up Mario. What did you think about the running back room? Did Jaleel do enough to seal a spot on the 53 tonight?
Jaleel specifically is man, I'm on the fence with that. I think it's Bidet's solid 3, and after that, I think they will keep 4. And they're like on the broadcast, they're like, "Do you think they'll go with 2 quarterbacks?" Like, yeah, I do. Of course, they're going to go with just 2 quarterbacks. I think Zach Wilson last year was just kind of like a special, like, situation. Plus, Bo is like a rookie, but man. Blake Watson, did you see that last cut right before the end of the game? Like, he caught one in the flat and then just made 2 guys completely, like, get juked. And you're like, man, that's stuff that you just so well-rounded. Jaleel had that great run, but there was literally nobody. It felt like any of the running backs could have made that run. I like the fact that Audric, like, didn't go down easily. Obviously didn't have any fumbles, any of that kind of stuff, but man, it's just feeling like it's just the sands of the hourglass are running out for him. You know, it's just somebody better have like an explosion next week to do something, because right now there's a hodgepodge. But I think there's 3 solid, definitely making the roster right now, and the
Mark?
4th is still up for grabs.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 4, man. I think Jaleel is absolutely a lock to make this roster. For me personally, it's like I don't really see why. In a sense of I know how beloved he is and how hard he works, but it just seems like by all accounts he's going to make this team. I think they're going to keep 4 backs. I think either Blake Watson or Estime will be on the practice squad. A lot of reports, I forgot who it was that said on Twitter earlier that said I think they'll probably just want to keep one of those guys on practice squad. So we might be looking at Estime being gone. And it kind of hurts my heart because, you know, we planted our flag for him, right, David? We got to eat our crow sometimes. But it's weird, man. I mean, you just watch it, and it does look different with him. It really does. It looks different. So let's see what the legend Mario has to think about the running back
Mario,
position.
give us your thoughts on the game, man.
Well, first of all, we were told that that the starters wouldn't be playing. And then Sean Payton was like, surprise, bitches, Evan Ingram's playing. And I took a picture, put it on my Twitter, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess some of the starters are playing. And then 2 plays into the game, he has a 58-yard catch. And fantastic blocking by Troy Franklin, by the way, and Pat Bryant on that play. And after that, I'm like, all right, get him off the field. And then there was a dude in my section that was like, oh, well, he didn't block at all on that play. And I was like, okay, well, he just took us out of the shadow of our own end zone and went 58 yards and set up a scoring drive. So 0 complaints from me. I will say this, guys. Obviously, I don't know what you've been talking about. We're kind of on Audric Estime watch, right?
Yes.
5th round pick last year. So it's like one of these players that you assume because he was a Sean Payton and George Payton draft pick, even though like I wasn't a fan of him at Notre Dame and didn't seem like a great draft pick at the time. The fact that he didn't get his first carry until like deep in the second half tells me that Audric Estime is not making this team. And if he somehow miraculously does, it is an incredibly uphill battle. Like, I think by the 3rd preseason game, you have a pretty good sense of who's making this team and who's not. So I think that needs to be the Audric Estime showcase game. And when you take into consideration, like, the limited amount of practice squad slots that you have to ask, like, how many running backs are you going to have active on the 53 any given Sunday? And then you have to look at the practice squad, and it's like, is Audric Estime really a practice squad candidate? And, like, I just haven't seen anything that really impresses me from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Well said, man. I think that, and I think his body language was bad tonight. Again, I don't know what he hasn't flashed anything of promise really at all this preseason. I think he's just cut outright, and then we can figure it out. Like, is Tyler Bidet or Blake Watson going to be that practice squad guy? But I hope we keep 4 backs. But I think that was probably the biggest shock or surprise. I don't know necessarily a shock, but man, it's a bummer, man, to see a 5th round pick last year. Right now, it just looks like the writing is on the wall for him to not be a part of the future at all.
Yeah, well, and David, real quick, here's the thing. Like, you have Audric Estime as, like, a short yardage back, and we know how Sean Payton operates. Like, typically you have, like, the kind of smaller, shiftier guy, and then you have the power back, right? Like, we saw it in his history with New Orleans. He always kind of had, like, the 1A and 1B, and the A and B both had, like, very specific roles in that offense. And obviously that's why they drafted Harvey. That's why you bring in a Dobbins. And, like, I get Estime is, like, one of, if not the youngest guy on this team. But still, man, it's like you're not measured by your age in general. You're measured by, like, how many years of experience you have. And if you're judging Audric Estime off of what you saw last year versus what you're seeing this year, there's not enough substantial approval to be able to justify him having a roster spot. And I don't even know if this is a hot take, but it's like, I don't know how they really justify having Jaleel McLaughlin on this team when everything that I've seen, like the eye test and whatever's been presented to us, like, Bidet has been better in any facet that I can think of. And Blake Watson, for that matter, has been better in every facet that I can think of in terms of, like, the role that Jaleel McLaughlin has. So I would be surprised, honestly, if both of these guys, or if either of these guys make the team.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out, man. Yeah, I imagine Audric has kind of killed any trade value that might have been perceived coming into the season. Yeah, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, Mario. What are your thoughts on Vele not playing this game? More precautionary, or is this kind of writing on the wall for him as well?
So, like, it's a very curious case, right? Like, if you're looking at it at face value, you think, okay, here's a guy who's probably going to be, at best, the 3rd option, depending on the game plan week to week, but realistically closer to, like, the 5th receiving option that you have on game day. But I think the thing to keep in mind is Sean Payton loves Vele and made it very clear that they wanted to draft him because they didn't want to have to compete with other teams to try and sign him as an undrafted free agent. And, like, I studied that draft class extensively at the wide receiver position because I knew at the time, like, Broncos needed to have a wide receiver. And obviously famously traded up for Troy Franklin, who has looked like a completely different person, to the point where it's like, is it the number change, or is there some other dude that they brought in that is just wearing Troy Franklin's jersey? Like, his leap has been unbelievable, to the point where, like, you almost have a hard time believing it. But in the case of Vele, like, because he fits the mold of, like, what Sean Payton wants out of his wide receivers, like, he's not going to wow you. Like, he'll have a couple weeks where maybe he doesn't even get a target, and then he'll have a couple weeks where he's, like, one of the focal points of the game plan for that given week. I wouldn't read too much into it, honestly, just because he feels very much like a Sean Payton guy, and you want to have depth at the wide receiver. So it's like the Broncos receiving room is really unique in the fact that Courtland Sutton is obviously their number one. But if you rank him in terms of like all the wide receivers in the NFL, he's probably somewhere in the 20s, and that's okay because they're looking for, quality, not necessarily quantity. And they're not top heavy in that receiving room. It's like you look at a guy like Troy Franklin, who's probably, or I'm sorry, not Troy Franklin, Trent Sherfield, who's probably going to end up being wide receiver 6, and there's not a huge drop off. So you have a lot of like really solid role playing guys who all have a specific role, and that's what I see out of Vele. Like he can play pretty much any wide receiver position. He can play that big slot. He's what Bronco fans saw out of Tim Patrick, except not quite at that level. So I wouldn't necessarily like get too worried about him not playing. Clearly, he has something going on. If he was 100% healthy, or even like 90% healthy, I think Vele is playing tonight. But it's the second preseason game. You have an idea. Like they see so much more behind closed doors and during training camp than we get to see as fans, presented to us on the field. But I mean, I would be surprised if like Vele's not going to get cut. Maybe they find a trade partner, and if like you can get a 5th or 6th round pick out of Vele, then technically that's a good return on your investment because he was a late 7th round pick. But again, I'm not reading too much into it. We kind of know what Vele is. He's an older wide receiver. He's steady, and I don't see him not making the team.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you for that, Mario. I want to get into just hearing what you guys think about some different winners and losers of the game that we haven't talked about. So maybe, Mark, we start with you. We can just kind of pick one guy each and kind of go for a little bit, whether that's a winner or a loser. So the floor is yours, Mark, and we'll start there.
I mean, for me, man, someone that really stuck out again, even though he had a rough play at the end of the fourth quarter, was Caden Prieskorn. I was happy to see him continuously be involved. He played a lot again. I like the versatility that he showed. And today he showed a little bit of pass catching chops. I mean, 3 catches, 52 yards. Obviously, that fumble at the end really sucks. But this guy is working himself into almost a lock on this team. Obviously, it's unfortunate with the injury to Nate Atkins. But, I mean, dude, he looks solid. He definitely looks like he belongs, which I think is really important. He can block. He can, play the fullback role. He's out there on special teams playing his ass off. So unless they bring somebody else in, I don't see, any real threat to him. And then my big loser sticking in the same positional group is Caleb Lohner, man. I mean, I love the story. I really want for him to work out. He looked absolutely lost 100% today. He looked like he had no idea what he was doing. A bunch of different penalties. There was a few more that they could have called on him. I like the effort and the attitude, but I mean, let's remind ourselves the guy literally just learned how to put on football gear within the last calendar year. He obviously needs a lot of seasoning. So it was a rough night out there for him. But I thought Caden Prieskorn looked good, man. I wanted to show him some love, and I think he's going to earn himself a spot on this roster, unless they obviously go to the waiver wire. But those are kind of my two guys.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that really quick, Mark. Just you and Andy. I'll concede. We should have drafted Kyle Monunga in the 7th round. I will.
No shit, dude. No shit.
This guy did not know where to line up. Penalties all the time, man. There's no way he's getting claimed if we waive him and put him on the practice squad. So, I mean, it is what it is. Jeremy, let's hear a winner and loser from you, and then we can go to Mario.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pick the easiest one, Jonah frickin' Ellis, dude.
Yes.
Like all over the place, every single time. He's in somebody's face. He's blowing through the line. He's picking, he's tackled for losses. He was everywhere. He's one of those guys that, man, whatever happens with Nick, if whatever goes on there, to have him as your second wave, he just looks fantastic. So he had a great game last week after, the starters came out, and he's just picked up where he's left off. So, he's the football pedigree with his family, all the things, and yeah, the guy looks like another. I mean, to go kind of back-to-back to drafting Nick Bonito in 64th overall and then getting Jonah Ellis late again, and now you have two guys who look dominant and they're not first-round picks is very impressive by George Payton. Loser, let's see. I mean, the biggest loser, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Man, Nick Garguilo's leg. Oh, that was sad
Brutal.
to see. I mean, that guy, I love that guy because he looks like he's a bouncer just ready to, like, exit somebody from the club. But on that one, man, it was just bad luck. He just got rolled up on, or, like, he kind of got pushed and then got jumped into, and that was all she wrote. So I feel that one hurt.
Yeah, he's probably out for the year, right?
Yeah, his leg was facing the other way. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be IR for him.
Yeah, real unfortunate, man. Mario, win or loser from you?
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm glad that you brought up Jonah Ellis because it kind of puts a spotlight on this edge group. This edge group is incredible. Like, obviously, everybody knows about Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper, and I think the best thing about those guys is they complement each other really well. Jonah Ellis has looked fantastic, but seemingly like the forgotten guy in that room is Dondre Tillman, who has had a really, really good camp. And you want to talk about, like, not only was Jonah Ellis all over the field, Dondre Tillman was making tackles in the flat. He's pursuing plays. He's routinely beating his guy. Like, you see guys like Dondre Tillman and Jonah Ellis out there with, going against the Cardinals reserves, and they made it very clear that they're head and shoulders above second-team guys, right? So, like, Jeremy took mine. Like, Ellis looked fantastic. So I'm just going to kind of piggyback off that and say Tillman continues to impress me. And it should be noted, like, he looks much trimmer. So when they signed him from the UFL, he was a defensive end. And you get to the NFL, and it's like he can play defensive end in the UFL, but you come to the league, and he wasn't quite big enough to be in. And so they just kind of put him on the edge, and they're like, rush the passer, set the edge. We're not too worried about your get off and your burst. But man, like I know Dondre, like he's thankfully one of my patients, and the last time that I saw him, like, he's noticeably trimmer. He put on muscle. He's more explosive. The edge room is so much fun on this team. Like, obviously, when Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper come off the field, you're going to have a little bit of regression between Tillman and Ellis, but it's not going to be noticeable because you have guys behind your top two dudes who can still get after the passer and still set an edge, which is arguably as important as, like, actually getting after the passer. So Tillman, and then really Q Robinson, like a guy that they drafted who was really toolsy and is mostly going to be a special teamer. But man, I really like what I've seen out of Q Robinson. Like you're starting to draft edge rushers based on their traits and how toolsy they are. Like we saw at this last draft where there were so many edge rushers taken who maybe didn't have a ton of production at the college level, but you're banking on their tools. That's what the Broncos did with Q Robinson, and it's kind of one of those safe picks where, like, well, even if he doesn't turn into a great edge rusher, we know that he can be a staple on special teams for a long time. But he has exceeded my expectations as an edge rusher. So that's a really, really fun, really deep edge room, which is what you need to have an elite defense. And, man, my biggest loser, and if you're familiar with Altitude Adjustment, which is a show that I do with Patrick Chiotti every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're kind of Damari Mathis haters. And Damari Mathis was a guy that I really liked coming out of Pitt, and I thought that he showed a lot of really good growth his rookie year.
Yeah.
And he came in his second year, and it's like, this is your job to take, and he didn't take it. And not only has he not looked like he's improved, he looked like he's regressed. And I was at the game tonight with Cameron Parker from Mainly Broncos, and I remember specifically saying to him, and I was like, wow, second play in, and I'm already irritated with Damari Mathis. It was literally the second play that he was on the field. And then the Cardinals scored the touchdown to Simi Fehoko, who I really like as a wide receiver, but if we're being honest, it's like he's the wide receiver 5 or 6 in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw I think it was Luca Evans on Twitter who does a fantastic job, and was trying to be maybe buddy with Damari. He's like, oh, it's a tough assignment. I'm like, it's not a tough assignment. Fehoko is fighting to make this team. Like, I think he's been on 3 teams in 4 years in the NFL. It's like, this is not a starting caliber wide receiver. Like, he's a deep depth guy, and he shook Damari out of his freaking cleats on a double move.
He's
wide
a stiff
open.
guy.
And this is on a seam route, okay? Like, you are in the middle of the field. And so, like, if there's a loser for me, man, like, thankfully this team has insane depth at the cornerback position, but in no universe is Damari Mathis on the same level as a Chris Abrams trade.
No.
So, I mean, and I've seen people floated around like, oh, you have so many cornerbacks, like, go ahead and trade Damari Mathis. What are you trading him for? Who is looking at Damari Mathis film of the 31 other teams in the NFL, and they're like, yeah, I want some more of that. It was like, in limited duty tonight, Damari Mathis, his only job was to look serviceable enough to increase his trade value, and he couldn't even do that. So to me, Damari Mathis far and away the biggest loser tonight.
Tough night for Lil Toast.
Lil Toast. Yeah. I mean, and real quick, I'm glad you bring that up, David. If I had $1 for every time that a terrible Broncos member of their secondary tried to make it as a rapper, I would have $3, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times.
Name the other 2.
It was Brendan Langley and Sua Craven.
That's right.
God,
I forgot about Sua.
Yeah, Sua was out there getting in fights in the airport.
No, that was Langley. That was Langley.
The biggest hit that Sua Craven's had in his career was on whatever freaking Denver Nuggets player that it was when they got in a fight at like I think it was the apartment complex of the Denver Nuggets player that he hit, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. It was like some, the 7th or 8th dude off the bench. And then Brendan Langley, it's like, what is it with these guys? Like, as long as Damari Mathis isn't getting in a fight in public when, it's being recorded, because B. Lang was the other guy. And it's like, you guys clearly didn't make it as NFL DBs. That's okay. That's a really high bar. You didn't make it as rappers / singers or whatever they were trying to do. But now, like, your lasting impression is getting in a fight in the public eye. That's loser mentality. So as long as Damari Mathis doesn't get in a fight on camera, then I guess he's a bigger winner than Sua Cravens and Brendan Langley.
It was Malik Beasley.
Thank you. Yes, Malik Beasley.
Oh my God. It was Malik. Oh my God.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, they're getting it. I mean, for me, the end. There was one play, I'll never forget it. There was one play Damari Mathis made, and I immediately was like, cut him. I don't want this guy anywhere near my team. I'm actually surprised he lasted a couple years after that. But, it was when we were down 48-7 against the Miami Dolphins when we eventually would give up 70. And he didn't even force an incompletion. I think the guy dropped it or something, and he sits there and he wags his finger as if, he did anything good and anything in the game was going well. And when I see things like that, it's like, that's just selfish type of shit for me. I was like, I don't want him on my team. He got benched immediately, didn't play the rest of that season, and his career went downhill. So I'm not really not overly worried about, Lil Toast, but maybe I'll check out a mixtape of his in the future.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Long
Marky, I'm so glad that you brought that up, Marky, because I've talked to some of like the other players who are a little bit more notable than Damari Mathis. I'm like, what's the deal? Like, talk to me about Damari. And the consensus is, well, like, he's got that swagger. Like, he never loses his confidence. And it's like, at some point, maybe that's a bit of a detriment to his game. Like, maybe a little bit of humility would go a really long way for a guy like Damari Mathis.
Yeah, it's a thin line between confidence and delusion,
Yeah, exactly. And he is full on delusional.
Yeah, full on.
Maybe I can buy his jersey when he's playing here for the San Antonio Brahmas next spring.
He would be so lucky, David, to like. I'm thinking more like, what's that? The fan-controlled football league seems like the perfect landing spot, and then he can focus on his rap career.
Man,
yeah.
Him and Audric. If it's okay, there's a couple guys I want to shout out that we barely talked about, and then I'll get to my loser. Jahdae Barron, not much to say other than that his closing speed is elite, fantastic open field tackler. Put him in the starting lineup here very soon. Feel good about him. And then RJ Harvey, showed vision, showed that he can run up the middle. The overreaction last week was too crazy. He showed that he's the starting running back for this team. But my loser today, another tough one, man. I love the bong hit pick of Caleb Lohner, but that is looking like a disaster right now. And then, better day from Jeremy Crawshaw, but I'm still throwing him as a loser. First punt timed by Andrew Mason at 3.86 second hang time. If DJ Dallas does not fair catch that, that is looking like a bad punt. And then it was nice to see him get off a 60-yarder booter. The problem was that it went for a touchback. So did we see Crawshaw after that? Y'all let me know. But those were the two punts that I remembered. I wish we could have gotten him more work, but we just have elite backup quarterbacks.
Hopefully he's not punting a lot this year, man. And when he does, hopefully he does well. But it's hard to root for a punter. You know what I mean? It's like it's so oxymoronic, I feel like.
Maybe that's the motivation for this team. Like, they drafted a dude, he has a big leg, but he's not a great punter. And maybe Sean is behind closed doors saying to the offense, like, you see who we got punting?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't punt.
Yeah, it's good. It's good psychology.
Score freaking points, because if we're having to punt, this is what you got to deal with. Maybe that was just a motivational tool by Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm also thinking about this is, who was it? It was, I can't remember. Somebody on Twitter said maybe the issue is number 16. Whoever was wearing number 16 just sucks. We saw with Troy Franklin last year. We kind of see it with Jeremy Crawshaw. Maybe we just need to unofficially retire that. Give Crawshaw, something like 99 or.
But man, what about Tom Ruin? Tom Ruin is the greatest punter in Broncos history. Like, 16 shouldn't be jaded, or maybe it's one of those things where no one could ever live up to what Tom Ruin did as a punter. And obviously Jake Plummer, but different position. But Jake Plummer, third best quarterback ever in Broncos history. But maybe that's the case. It's like, no one is worthy. No punter is worthy to wear 16 after Tom Ruin.
And I'm glad Mike brought up Benny Fowler, because he did catch the last ball ever from Peyton Manning. So maybe it was like that was it. Now it's cursed.
Call it quits. Yeah.
16 is done. Yeah, I mean I think he'll change his number. He starts booting some bangers too. So
yeah, hopefully we can get him a lot of work, but next week. I want to see better and more from the first punter drafted in the draft. I've been standing on business saying that he's the franchise punter. He has not looked the part yet, but I'm not giving up yet. Still adjusting to a new continent. I know he's been over here for forever, but we'll see how it goes. Guys, any other takeaways? Is there anything that we're forgetting to mention here? RJ Harvey. We got to talk about the elephant in the room. Nick Garguilo goes down. Guys, I'm terrified right now of what our depth is looking like in the interior line right now. Anybody feel free to speak up, but where do we go from here? Who makes the roster? What do we do?
This guy's going to make the roster, but man, at least a couple. I didn't watch it that closely right away, but it felt like Palcho again, just not focused, having penalties. Like he's solid to be on the roster, but man, he needs to step it up. I'm getting a little worried. Obviously, they're not cutting Ben Powers with what they're paying him, but yeah, I can understand why the depth is a little suspect right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it might be one of those. I think it might be one of those rooms. that we have to look outside, after camp cuts, and I feel like there's always a handful of, veteran guys that have a lot of experience that get cut because they're, salary cap casualties or whatever that, you could bring in to be a solid depth piece. But it is really concerning right now because I have no idea where you would go. Frank Crum is just like, who knows what you're going to get with him. I didn't really know how much he played tonight or how he looked. But, yeah, unless you want to go in there with, like, Clay Webb and Calvin Throckmorton as your interior guys along with Forsythe, obviously, it's getting a little bit thin. So that's a really weird positional group. The Garguilo injury was really heartbreaking. You hated to see it. And another one that's going to be really weird, man, is safety. Because if you kind of do the math, like, are they really going to have 5 safeties on this team? Because I think JL Skinner is a lock to make the 53. I don't know if that's a hot take. But because because especially after what I heard Andrew Mason say that Darren Rizzi talked about him. Darren Rizzi's like in love with JL Skinner. He's like, we scouted him. I loved him when I was in New Orleans. I've always wanted him to be on my team. And that kind of says it all. He's a great special teamer. He's out there making plays as a safety. Sam Franklin Jr. I don't even think Sam Franklin played tonight, did he? Maybe he did. But
he did a little bit.
Yeah. So unless he's not like this special team savant that they thought he was, I feel like he's going to make the team. So Devin Keys, is he going to make it? I don't think so. So safety's a really, kind of crowded room as well. So I feel like there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot of moves made for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're talking about the offensive line because I just want to provide some perspective. Like we're sitting here and we're griping about the offensive line in terms of depth. That's a good thing. Okay, like obviously you want to have a little bit more depth, but if we rewind to last year, think about the gripes that we had about this team kind of going into the season. Like we didn't know what the quarterback position looked like with the rookie Bo Nix. We didn't have any pass catching tight ends. The inside linebacker room, even before Alex Singleton got hurt, was looking a little bit thin. We are so blessed and privileged now that we don't have to worry about quarterback. We don't have to worry about a pass-catching tight end. We don't have to worry about interior linebacker. We are worried about the depth of the offensive line. And prospectively, if you look around the league, the Broncos are already considered, let's just call them a top 5 offensive line. Top 7 if you really want to get in the nitty-gritty, but definitely one of the better offensive lines in the entire league. Mm-hmm. It is so nice to be able to sit here after the second preseason game and be like, man, I'm worried about our offensive line depth, like after the first 4 guys. Because if there's anything that I would like to be worried about, it's the depth of the offensive line. Any other position that we're worried about, like the fact that we're not talking about the fact that we're worried about any other starting position on this 53-man roster, like the 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, we're not worried about any of the starters. That is fantastic. Now, is it something that you want to have a gripe with and you want to make sure it's shored up because, if a Garrett Bowles or Mike McGlinchey goes down, like what are we going to do? Yeah, it might get a little bit dicey, but you look around the league, a really good offensive lineman is so difficult to find. And the perspective that I want to give, and I talked about this with Bree Maestas, who does KOA all the time. She does Believe in the Broncos with Patrick Chiotti as well. If you look at like the UFL, and we talked about Dondre Tillman, who came in here and was on a snap basis one of the most productive edge rushers that they had brought in, and really in the league in general. There are so many players at every other position in the UFL who could probably make a 53-man roster in the NFL. The 2 positions that are the most difficult to find, and the reason that league will never take off from like a fan standpoint, is the quarterback and the offensive line. The best offensive lineman in the UFL probably isn't sniffing an NFL roster. That is how difficult it is to find truly good offensive linemen. It's the reason that 3 of the 5 starting linemen for the Broncos were free agent signings, and they were guys that they probably had to overpay. Or I'm sorry, it's 2 right now.
guys that they probably had to overpay to bring in. They overpaid Powers. They overpaid McGlinchey. That's the nature of it. So the fact that they have 3 guys in their roster now that they drafted who are starting on the offensive line is huge, because that is so incredibly difficult to find in this league. So, yes, the offensive line depth needs to be better, but the fact that that's our biggest complaint after all of this is, I mean, really, it's a surefire sign that this is going to be a competitive team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, what other NFL team has offensive line depth problems? All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, there's not one team.
I think my biggest concern, I'd like to know you guys' take, is like, there's a lot of concern out there about Ben Powers. Some people are thinking he's fine. Others is like, he struggles a lot. I think he's probably our worst O-lineman, which isn't really saying much because we have a really damn good group. But I think now it's like, you really have to bank on Ben Powers doing well. And I always thought like Nick Garguilo was someone, if he kept showing the strides that he was making, maybe he would be like the guy that steps in and is able to. But now it's like, you really have to rely on Ben Powers. Is that worrisome, or do you feel like in this wide zone he'll be able to be fine?
I think I think he's had to adjust to the stuff that they want to do, and I think he's only going to get better from that. I don't know how good he's going to get from it, but this is like the floor we're seeing. So he's a vet. He, is he not living up to the contract? Probably. Or definitely. But again, like Mario just said, that guy, compared to the other options that are around the league, he's gonna have issues, but overall I think he'll be decent to good. And that's when you have the other 4 guys playing really well, I think we'll be okay.
If Powers were to go down, I might be inclined to put Forsythe over at guard to see how he does.
I think now that's the logical choice.
David, I will say this. One of the days that I went out to camp, they actually had Pert in at left guard. And I don't know if that was just to, like, get him some run and get him familiar. And it was, like, very noticeable because, like, Pert is way too tall to be a guard.
Yeah, I think he's 6'7", isn't he?
Yeah. But the nature of, like, what he is at this point of his NFL career, it's like, okay, you need to be a Swiss Army knife on the offensive line. You're not going to be a starter, but it's like if 3 out of the 5 guys go down between Bowles, McGlinchey, and Powers, if any of those guys goes down, I feel like Pert is the first man up. So it's really interesting that we're talking about Powers, because if he struggles, do we feel comfortable with Pert? And I think Forsythe is another one. Like, I know he's a center. I don't know if he's quite strong enough to be a guard. I think that would be my only, the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause with Forsythe playing guard. What makes him a really good center is how incredibly smart he is. So it's kind of shades of like Lloyd Cushenberry in his first couple of years, even though Cushenberry was a better center at this point than Forsythe. But Cushenberry was not strong enough to be an NFL center the first couple of years in the league. But what made him serviceable was his intelligence. Mm-hmm. So I think if you were to move Forsythe out to guard, I think, again, he would be serviceable, but he wouldn't necessarily be my first pick because he struggles with leverage and he struggles with just like overall strength. And maybe that's something that he gets as he gets deeper in his career, as like what we saw with Lloyd Cushenberry. But I think those are kind of your 2 options. Like, if it's not going to be Forsythe, Sean Payton has toyed with the idea of putting Pert out there just so apparently the Broncos can have the tallest side of the left side of a offensive line that we've ever seen, between Bowles at like 6'5", 6'6", and then Pert inside at 6'7".
Wow. That is something I had no idea about. So, yeah, I'm going to have to chew on that. I do like that Pert theoretically will have some versatility then if somebody goes down. I wonder then if, we can still get away with somebody like Throckmorton on the practice squad and elevate him if needed. Guys, any other thoughts on the offensive line? I wanted to hit on linebackers really quick before we wrap up.
Well, I was going to ask Mario. I mean, I know he's been out the camp a little bit. I mean, how's Clay Webb looked? because this kind of opens up some opportunities for him.
Yeah.
I felt like he's been fine. You haven't really heard bad, but I don't know much.
I mean, it's hard to tell at camp, man. Like, and so much of like the first day that I went there, the offense was like very obviously focusing on the run game. So you hear those reports of like, oh, the offense is struggling against the defense, and Bo Nix this, and the offensive line that. And so at least the days I was out there, when they're focusing on the run and the defense kind of knows that you're focusing on the run, the defense is at a very distinct advantage. Now they're cycling guys in so quickly, and it's hard to see like from your vantage point. I'm not allowed to film because I got yelled at by some portly security guard for trying to film during one of the practices that I was at. But I think the thing to keep in mind is like Webb is fine. You know, he's certainly not a guy that you want to have to rely on this year. He's like, to me, he's like the Nick Garguilo of last year. You take him late. If he turns into something great, if not, then it's not going to necessarily hamstring you. The only reason that I really want Webb to make the team is because he has the greatest nickname potential out of maybe anybody in the NFL. Like, my personal favorite is the Jizzler. And David, you call him what?
Clay Spray.
Clay Spray. So aside from that, it's like he's going to be a practice squad guy, you know, like Crum was, like Garguilo was, and you just hope that they continue to develop. But guys, at some point, this team has to draft a freaking tackle in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm tired of it. I feel like they haven't drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles in, what was it, 2017, 2016. It's time. And I would be shocked if in the first 2 rounds next year, one of those 2 picks is not an offensive tackle.
Has to be.
I agree.
And this is a good draft to do it, so I agree.
Yeah.
You know, this is another really good question here. As we talk about the defense, you know, I would agree that I thought we saw a good game out of Lavelle Bailey. I think that man, who was the other one that got some sacks? Jordan Turner?
Yeah,
Turner looked really good.
Yeah, he was all over the place, so I like that. But touchdown Bo Nix also asking, are we done with Awazarike? I think Jordan Jackson, he definitely flashed today as well. But yeah, like Awazarike, another hands in the face penalty. We've always talked about his effort level. Mario, I know that you've talked about him on your show as well, but how are you feeling right now with the prospects of Awazarike beating out Jordan Jackson for the 53?
I think the biggest advantage that Awazarike has over anybody that he's competing with is that he's just gigantic. And the thing that we all saw as Bronco fans after that game in Buffalo, where they routinely had 6 offensive linemen on the field at any given time, is they just weren't big enough on that front 4 and like on their defensive line. And I think that's why when we were looking at, you know, everyone's doing their mock drafts, we're researching the draft for the 2025 season. And I think everyone kind of figured that like at some point they would bring in just like a big body defensive tackle. And I think a lot of people were really disappointed that that was not a priority for them. Like really the only way that they addressed that was Savion Jones, who has flash, but I mean, he's one of these tweeners. Like he's not fast enough and quick enough to be an edge. I don't know if he's quite big enough to be an end right now, but like he can, again, he's flashing, he's looked good. But I think we as fans were really looking for just like that big body that can clog up the middle. And honestly, having talked to some of the players, that is a general consensus, is that the skill set is there. The size is there. It's that, like, do you have the desire to be a professional football player and do the work that it takes? And I think that's translating onto the field. So honestly, like from where we see it now, if Awazarike makes this team, it's because he's just like a doorstop, right? He's just a big body that you can put in the middle on short yardage downs. Maybe he can get a little bit of penetration. Maybe he can push the pile. but is that going to be enough to justify him getting one of those roster spots on a defensive line that is very talented, but is undersized comparatively to the rest of the NFL?
So if you were a betting man, would you bet that he makes the team? I'm just joking. That's a Wazarike.
Oh man, that's a good pull. But honestly, Jeremy, like if I were a betting man, like I would, for that simple fact. Like if I'm a coach and I'm looking at it, it's like he simply has things and traits that you cannot teach, and he has traits that no other Broncos defensive lineman has. He's the only guy that's like well over 300 pounds, and I think it's just one of those situations where you kind of ease his feet in, and you just pray to God that at some point something upstairs for him clicks, and he decides that he wants to tap into his potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God's only making so many people that size, right? So
exactly. Yeah.
Jordan Miller, I noticed him today in the second half as well. I think that he's probably a practice squad guy, but they got him weighing at 307, and I think that he moves pretty well with his size. I think he's somebody to keep an eye on long term. I liked what we saw out of Jordan Miller tonight.
But what's interesting about him is he's the only guy on the team, I think, that's actually labeled as a nose tackle, too. And he was like strictly like a one tech in college at SMU.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's a little shorter and more stout. He's kind of the same height weight as DJ Jones, but he's definitely an interesting player too. But I think Ioma's going to make the team for all the reasons that Mario said, but also his versatility, man. He can really play all over the line. I think they like his height and stuff too for special teams. He's in there on like field goal block and all that, so those things help.
Oh yeah, didn't Wazarike bat a pass?
He did.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
I like to see that he's batting the passes. Yeah. But overall, Mario, you might have missed this, but Kodiak has had a prediction, and I think he said that we would win each preseason game by at least 20 points. I think that's what he said. So we're right there right now.
That's psycho behavior to predict that, but
and he's nailing it.
I guess that's Kodiak, honestly, and he's right so far. So, yeah.
Although Prieskorn was like, "Oh wait, hold on a second, hold my beer. Like, wait, I can put a stop to this. I'm about to go into the men's."
Yeah. Oh, it worked out still, but yeah, he was close.
Yeah,
man, I want Caden Prieskorn to make this team, man.
How is he not? We're not going to keep two tight ends.
It's going to be Prieskorn or Kroll, it looks like.
I keep forgetting about Kroll. I swear to God, I keep forgetting about him. I still think I don't know why. I still think he makes it, though, yeah. Kroll kind of has flashed, but, like, what? I don't know, man. What can Kroll do that Prieskorn can't really at this point? I mean, we kind of know what Kroll can do.
Yeah, Kroll made that one catch where we needed to get the first early in the game there, and he reached out. He didn't quite reach out. He kind of leaned in, and they pushed him back, and I was like, oh, Kroll.
I want him to get that, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I think we could. There's the situation we can definitely keep 4 tight ends, especially because of the fullback versatility that Prieskorn's got.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got Lohner not looking like he's ready, and then you have the injuries to Atkins and Burton, so that's gonna open up a little bit. So I think obviously Troutman's locked, Ingram's obviously, and then it's gonna be, do they keep Prieskorn and Kroll or just one of the two?
Yeah.
Well, if they only keep 8 offensive linemen, they could keep 4 very easily.
I think you could probably get Kroll on the practice squad too if you needed to. I mean, realistically, but I can see them keeping 4.
That's gonna be interesting,
guys. It's 12:35 a.m. my time, so I'm gonna wrap this up. But really appreciative of you guys coming on here. This has been great. I want to give you guys a chance before we wrap up to just plug your stuff. Let everybody know how awesome you are and what you got going on. So, Mark, we'll start with you. Where can we find you? What do you got coming up on your channel, man?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty much just on YouTube. Marquee Sports Denver is my handle. I do like the Twitter machine a lot, but I try to stay off interacting with. That's just Marquee Sports, and maybe one day I'll stay consistent on TikTok. I know David, you're killing it, but we're always gonna have a good time on my channel, man. We're gonna talk about some different perspectives. We're always gonna be covering the Broncos. Never editing. I just hit record and we chat. So we'll just be covering, roster by roster. I'll have my 53-man roster prediction probably in the next few days. But yeah, that's where you can find me, man.
Wonderful. Jeremy, you got anything coming up other than Horsepower Hour?
No, I'm locked in on Horsepower Hour, But yeah, if you want to follow me, that would be nice on YouTube at Broncos Unbridled. But yeah, Horsepower Hour Monday nights. That's you're gonna get 4 interesting points of view, and it's just a fun time, So that's where you can see me.
Don't come sober. And lastly, Mario, what you got going on? Where can the people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Vitanzi Therapy. That actually was like my secondary Twitter handle. I used to be at Mile High Mario, but I jokingly threatened to stab Patrick Coyote on Twitter like several years ago. And Elon Musk was like, nope, we're not going to have that. Your account is gone. So you can find me at Vitanzi Therapy now. And ironically, the guy that I threatened to fake stab, Patrick Coyote, is my co-host for Altitude Adjustment. We're on the Let's Talk Broncos network on YouTube. We do a live show every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're unfamiliar with it, David, I know you are. Marky, I know you are. Complete chaos. We don't game plan at all. We don't have a blueprint. Pat and I kind of decide what we're talking about on the fly. Maybe we have a couple of talking points. And, thinking about going into the season, I was talking to Pat and I'm like, who can we bring in that can match our chaos? And there are so few people available. But the name that we actually settled on that we will be having on the show next Tuesday night is Matt McChesney of the 6-0 podcast. If there is anybody who is as big of a loose cannon as Pat and I on our show, it is absolutely Matt McChesney. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've gotten to do one show with Matt in the past, but we talked about the Buffs. So this will be our first time talking to Matt about Broncos. And Matt used to have a radio show here in Denver. They really couldn't handle his level of honesty and brashness, and he just didn't really fit their mold. And that sounds like a grade A podcaster to me. So yeah, this coming Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Altitude Adjustment. Patrick Coyote and I will be joined by Matthew McChesney of the 6-0 Strength podcast. It is going to be off the freaking chains. We're gonna like really get into anarchy, like a level of anarchy, maybe at an all-time record for Altitude Adjustment. Like usually it takes about 30-40 minutes into the show for it to completely go off the rails, but I think it's going to happen much sooner with a guy like Matt.
My question is, did McChesney agree to do this?
He did.
At knife point, though.
Yeah, as if there's a chance that I would ever threaten Matt McChesney with a weapon. That dude is the size of a mastodon. He would swallow me whole. No, I begged him. I went through the proper channels, and I got down on my knees and I said, please, Mr. McChesney, it would mean so much to have you on our show. You fit exactly with what we want to do, and you're fantastic, by the way. Yeah, I went in the opposite direction. Zero threats, because I think if I threatened Matt McChesney, I would no longer be walking this earth.
Well, I got to tell you, I cannot absolutely wait to hear what Matt McChesney has to say about Caleb Lohner on Tuesday night.
You should be excited about what he's going to say about the offensive line. That's what I'm really looking forward to, because it's like, if you're unfamiliar, like Matt trains high school offensive linemen who routinely get rated as 3, 4, 5-star recruits. He had a guy, I'm spacing on his name. I think his first name is Dalton, 5-star recruit who just signed with Oklahoma. Like every single year consistently, like pumping out defense or offensive linemen who are going to Division I programs. Like Matt is the guy that's doing that. So if there's one person, like if you want to hear about the offensive line and why we should feel good or why we should feel bad, Matt is absolutely the guy to talk about.
I can't think of a better thing to leave the people excited for. Guys, go check out Let's Talk Broncos. Hit that bell for notifications so you know when they're going live for altitude adjustment over there on Tuesday nights at 8, correct? At 8 Mountain Time?
8 Mountain Time.
Mario, man, thank you. Even though A.T. Perry didn't, go off today, thank you.
I was preparing a rant for A.T. Perry. I was so ready for him to show us why he needs to be the starting Z wide receiver. But I guess we just have to wait another week. It's the infamous A.T. Perry return to his original team, the New Orleans Saints. And I think if there's ever a time for him to ball out, it's going to be against the team that gave up on him. Team A.T. Perry, baby. Let's go. I'm ready for it.
Let's go. And with that, Broncos country, have a wonderful night. Go Broncos.
Peace.